Oi, oi, hello and welcome to another Which Bookie horse racing preview. I'm Dave Young, I'm on my own for this one. We're looking at day one of the Newmarket July Festival. Now, don't you worry, I will be back with Will Smith to look at days 2 and 3, the Friday and Saturday's racing from this pretty decent festival. Lots of action to get stuck into. I think there's 8 pattern races across the 3 days. 4 of those come on day one, which is why I felt it was quite important to cover those races for us. Lots to get excited about. Lots to get stuck into. Some of the prices have already moved about with some of these runners. So look, I'll quote the prices that are correct at the time of recording. But as always, there will be a link in the description for the Which Bookie Racing website. That's where you can find our horse racing tips. Will might upload a few of them the night before. Sometimes we'll put an anti-post bet up during the week. Mine will go up at 8 a.m. the morning of the racing. That's where you'll be able to find out what our final thoughts are. So I'll be talking about things in here. We'll see how the markets move and what the ground's like on the day, and that's when the final bets will come out. Now, make sure you subscribe to the Which Bookie channel for that second video that will be coming out. You'll get notified when that happens. We've got Goodwood coming up. There's a decent fixture at York next month. Loads of good action at this time of the year. Drop a like on the video if you do like the video, and drop a comment below with what your best bet may be Thursday, or if you fancy something on Friday or Saturday and you want to give us a bit of clues for what we might be better to preview on Thursday's recording, then do that too, please. But look, I think we can just crack on here. There's a good amount of racing to get through. There's a couple of races that have been priced up, a couple that are hard to form an opinion in, but I'm going to talk you through the ones that I can do, and we'll go from there. Kicking off with the 150, it is the Bahrain Trophy Stakes. It's a Group 3 over 1 mile, 5 furlong. We've got a load of horses that have come from the Queen's Vast at Ascot. That was over a furlong further. Now, we've had horses that ran well in there, maybe eye-catching in defeat, badly positioned, horses that were too keen in there. I feel like the pecking order, though, does look like it might be quite simple to work out. Further placed in the best position of those horses in the Queen's Vast, was keen, but probably had a better position than some of his rivals on the home turn in. I think if you switch the position that that horse was in with a few of the other horses, they would have reversed the form. So I respect the horse's chance in this race, but as the prices have been marked up to start with, Further and Scandinavia were about joint favourites. Actually, Further was favourite at some points. That has now changed. Scandinavia's a short 6-5 from opening at 5-2. Still a top price 7-4 at the time of recording, but that looks like it's probably going to get tightened up, especially by the time we get through to Thursday. Now, the important thing to talk about Scandinavia is Ryan Moore's now taking the ride. The cheap pieces have been applied. And while this horse didn't win last season, in a maiden race that a horse ran at this track, beat a horse, King of Cities, I think it is, that we'll cover on a later race for Thursday. That horse is now rated 111. This Scandinavia just looks like a much better horse than he's been able to show up to now. I did like the run in the Queen's Vase as well. Was caught wide on the outside, which didn't look ideal. Was staying on towards the line, and the fact they put the cheap pieces on to probably help the horse concentrate a little bit more would suggest he left a little bit for himself. Almost beat Further, and as I say, if those two had a different position as they came into that home straight, I think Scandinavia would have won that. And I think the way the market's got this settled now looks about right. Probably one that I think is worth mentioning is Titanium Emperor, just for the price thing, as big as 14-1 in here. Was further back in the Queen's Vase than some of these other horses, but the drop back of furlong looks like it would suit this horse more than some of the others maybe. Nighttime Dancer doesn't come from that race, was 8th in the Derby, shaping like a horse that further would suit. Of course, this is a Group 3, not a Derby. Even when he ran in the Derby Trial Stakes at Lingfield, gave the same sort of impression when he was third that day that this sort of trip would suit more, and also probably the drop in class. I know the Derby Trial isn't the same grade as a Group 3, but you're still going up against decent rivals in there. So look, there's a few that have got chances in here, but Scandinavia does look like the worthy favourite. Would I be willing to back the horse at 7-4? Well, probably yes. Would I want to back the horse at 6-5? I don't think I would. So you'll have to check the column to see what the final thoughts are in there. But a good race to kick things off, despite the fact that it is a small field. Now, moving on to the second race of the day, the 225. It's the King of Bahrain July Stakes. This is a Group 2, over 6 furlongs this time. Again, it's a small field. We've only got the 6 runners in here, but it looks a pretty deep race. Zavaretti's the rank outside of the field. I'm going to start with that one because one like a very nice type, but the form hasn't particularly worked out. Still was a horse that I thought was very impressive on debut. You got sort of shorter room fairly early in the race. The track opens up. I think it was Salisbury the horse ran at. Quickened away at the finish, looking like a horse that would want to be able to step, or would need to take a step forward to win this. But I don't think it's a step forward that's sort of out of his realms of possibility. I think it was a low 80s RPR, but I'll talk about this now because Maximise recorded an RPR of 96 last time out. That was the horse's second start. That does not put him miles clear of anything else. There's horses that have done that same sort of figure. I think even Gerald Pepper did it on debut at Goodwood. I know the form hasn't been boosted by those who are behind, but there's horses that have put up big numbers. And as much as Avaretti is the rank outside and would need to step forward a little bit, I still think it's a viable option. Like, it could happen in there. Brussels is in for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore. He took the Curragh Maiden that Henry Matisse took last season. Henry Matisse went for a Group 2 at the Curragh, so back at the same track. Duly obliged in that. The only problem is the form of that race hasn't really been boosted. The runner-up was another Aidan O'Brien horse that's had headgear on, has finally got a win after, but I guess you just have to trust the horse that was winning the race and doing their own thing in there. So Brussels looks like he's got a chance. Maximised is the favourite at the moment, though. Top price 13-8, a general 6-4 shot. Brussels is 9-4 in there. I think Maximised looks a horse that I would probably want to take on as a favourite at that sort of price. What I'd want to take him on with, though, is the problem. I don't really know. Do or Do Not was second in the Coventry Stakes. The winner in his group looked a decent effort, and I don't think this is as deep a Group 2 as that one was. So Do or Do Not, top price 5-1, general 4-1 shot. Just the 6-1, so it's 2 places up for grabs. But Do or Do Not is sort of on my radar for this race. I'll need to see some sort of trainer comments and how things have shaping up towards it, what happens with the market in there, because I feel like Brussels will shorten up. Maximiser's got to be bigger than the 13 to I'm talking about at the time of recording, but we'll see where that one sits. I don't just want to try and find a bet in a race because I think the favourite's not weak, but I think he's probably a bit too short for all that. If they were priced 6-1 a race and if everything was 5-1 in it, I'd look at Maximiser and say he would probably be a bet at those prices. Obviously he's not. That's not quite how it always works out, but we all know from yourself within horse racing that it's a value option, isn't it? You're trying to look for a price that's bigger than the perceptive chance that you give a horse in a race, and I think Maximised at 6-4 looks a bit short, to be fair. So again, check the link in the description for a column bet if there is one in there. I know Will's got one fancy on the Thursday, so you'd have to check his column on Thursday to find out what that is. The 3 o'clock is a Heritage Handicap. Handicap over 6 furlongs, the 0-105. It's a pretty good race, to be fair. 20 runners is the max field. We've got 18 that come in here. It's a race I haven't done my full finished amount of work on it, trying to give you the early thoughts in here. Prince of India has been one that's been supported for sort of some early money. It's got quite a big weight swing, I think, with Hucklesbrook that's favourite for this race now. It does look a race where there's a few that would definitely have chances. I think Realign was a horse that I may have even put up recently when he was beaten by Adrasteer at Ascot. I think that was a race where in that Holyrood House Stakes, yeah, it was just a race where the horse was in the centre of the racecourse. I don't think it was necessarily given the best ride, but I just don't think the horse looked like it was enjoying everything that day. But I do think the horse is better than the mark. Was a 7-2 favourite for a biggish handicap like that. Moorland was another runner that I put in that race who was just left out the back. So I'm a bit tempered with with that particular race that I don't know whether I got it quite correct. The winner of that race, Adrasteer, has run well since at Sandown last weekend. So I think Realign's probably worth another chance, but so would a lot of horses be in here. Halasan's another horse that I like. Will Buick still rides this horse. Ran behind Big Mojo in a Group 3, then running a listed race, has run in listed races before that. So this is a handicap debut for a horse that's got a mark of 98, but has run to high 90s. Was given an official rating of 101 at one point. Never run an RPR in excess of 100, but has always looked like the type of horse that could be quite good. Obviously, the start in this season over 6 furlongs when the horse was quite keen, but in a Group 3, looked like that might be the trip they fancied it at. You got to remember this horse went and beat Camille Pizarro over 6.5 furlongs. So it's just one of these races where there's a lot of horses that have got probable chances in here. There are 4 and 5 places up for grabs if you're looking to bet each way, but I'd need to whittle down and work out which one of the horses that I followed before might be the one that would take my preference. But the short list at the moment really sits with Realign, Halasan and Prince of India. I want to try and be able to make the strongest case from one of those 3. As I get deeper into the race, it may even be that none of those make the frame, but we'll move on to probably the easiest race of the day. It's the 3:35 Princess of Wales Stakes. It's a Group 2. It's over 1 mile, 4 furlongs, and it features Ghostwriter, a horse that was picked up for Ammo Racing for £2 million. I think it's $2,007,000. It's just a horse that is got to be better than this contest. It's a Group 2 on paper. I do respect a lot of the horses that are in here, but really, I don't think these horses are Group 2 horses. You've got Arabian Crown that's in here as sort of vying for rank outsider. Will Buick hasn't chosen to ride this horse. He's a Group 3 winner. That was at his peak. He's got questions to answer now. He's been gelded. That's the sort of level we're looking at here. You've got a previous Group 3 winner in there. El Cordobes. That is the choice of William Buick. He just doesn't get his string often very wrong. So just because Will Buick picked it doesn't mean that he's going to go and win, but it would make me think that he's got more chance than Arabian Crown. His best wins in a handicap though, and his pattern racing form isn't up to winning this. So I'd be against both the Godolphin pair. Then we're left with Palladium and Wimbledon Hawkeye. Now, Palladium impressed me at Ascot, ran better than I thought he would, but I still think Ghostwriter had his measure in that race and would still do so here. You got to look at Ghostwriter for the fact that he won at this course, was he as a 3-year-old maybe? You go back to his 2-year-old form, that would have been the last time he ran in such an easy race, Ghostwriter. But I just think that Palladium form, that he's entitled to improve. Ryan Moore keeps the ride. He's only been with the Gosners for a few months, hasn't he? So I think he can run well, but I do just think that Ghostwriter is a better horse. I can see where they are in the market. Now, Wimbledon Hawkeye is not really a horse that stepped forward from his early promise. This looks deep enough to probably rule him out, despite the fact that it's not a really, really deep Group 2. He does have good Newmarket form overall. He's run all right on the July course and all right on the Rowley Mile. I know it doesn't always translate between the two of them, but you know, just being at this track can make a bit of a difference. I'd give him a bit of a chance. I think he'll be popular. He seems to get support in lots of races. But for me, Ghostwriter has got to underperform for something else to win this race. This season's runs haven't really gone to plan, but they haven't been terrible. That Rebels Romance defeat last time, that's a proper Group 1 horse, and he hasn't got any of that competition in here to get first run on him. And his figures towards the end of last season were good. They were much higher than any of these horses could ever think to achieve. So I think Ghostwriter's the right favourite in here. Top price 15 to 8, a general 7 to 4 shot. I think that looks more than fair. I'd be happy to take a short as 5 to 4 about Ghostwriter. So a horse that will most likely make it in the column unless he gets absolutely smashed up. I think he's got every chance of getting back to winning ways. And I think it would be a nice stepping stone now for this horse to go and win this and then pitch his hat back into Group 1 company. Because I think if you look at this field, he is the horse in the race that stands out as a glaring Group 1 performer. Whether he's up to winning Group 1s at the moment is up for dispute. But you look at his Eclipse run behind City of Troy last year, even his Eclipse run behind, his Eclipse run behind City of Troy and his Juddmont run behind City of Troy last year, that form would slam these rivals. So I think it looks an open and shut case in that race. I think the only horse that I'd want to be on is Ghostwriter. So we will be. We'll just have to check the column to see what the prices are and what my recommended point stakes would be in there. The 410 after this, it's a real tricky race. It's a maiden filly stakes. We've got loads of unraced fillies in here. We've got Ryan Moore riding for George Bowie on Night Shining. I've gone into the breeding a bit. I can't really find too much. It's a race that I'm never going to tip in. It's a maiden filly stakes. There could be money that talks in there, but it might be false influence. It will be a good race to watch for future seasons form, because we're going to get 2-year-olds running here that are going to help us for next season, but it wouldn't be one that I'll have a strong enough opinion to even talk about. So we'll leave that one as it is. Move on to the listed race though, the 4:45 Sir Henry Cecil Stakes. This is a listed race over 1 mile, and it's a race where the market really is taken up by 2 horses, and I think really the winner comes from one of those 2. The only one I give a bit of a squeak to would be Royal Playwright. He'd have a bit of a chance at the prices more than anything. He's a 10 to 1 shot. We've got the dead 8 in here, so we'd have to keep an eye on each way terms, but he might look like a bit of each way value and he may get supported because he runs all right, but he doesn't run to the top level. But it is a listed race, so give him a chance. Now, Opera Ballo carries a £3 penalty. The conditions of this race is they can't have won a Group 1 or Group 2 pattern race. It's for 3 odds since they were a 2-year-old. Opera Ballo in that last race, I think he did win a listed race last time out. So yeah, so the pattern races that I've been talking about, listed obviously doesn't class into that. He does carry a £3 penalty. On weight adjusted ratings, it does mean that King of Cities is ahead of this horse. Now that's the horse that I talked about with Scandinavia earlier. I like King of Cities. I think this is a real good horse. Listed race at the start of the season at Newmarket, but on the Rowley Mile behind a Merrick. Lots of trouble, hung a little bit in there, but looked like a horse that would step forward for the run. Ryan Moore was on that board. It was a decent ride, but he just couldn't get the job done. Then was thrown into the deep end in a Group 1 in France behind Camille Pizarro. Just wasn't up to the Group 1 standard. But this is a significant drop back in class. And as I say, you go back to that maiden run over this trip and this course. I know Scandinavia's running a much easier race at the start of the day. I say a much easier race. You look at the level of it, it's a Group 3 rather than a listed race. And I know from a distance perspective, it's different distances, but I still think the form is relatively solid. I think this is the horse that I'd want to bet, but it's one of those, again, it feels like it's the prices, because Opera Ballo looked like the horse that he'd sort of promised to be last time out with the hood fitted for the first time. I don't know if I could trust him. I don't know if I could trust him to have that same sort of performance again with the hood on. So for me, it sits at 6-4 Opera Ballo at the moment. I think that's probably about right. No juice in that. I think King of Cities at 133-1 probably looks about right as well, but maybe a little bit on top. I could see that one maybe shortening up a tiny bit. And like I say, Royal Playwright would be the other horse that I'd give a bit of a chance to. My question mark with King of Cities is he's got form on good ground. Maybe when you're looking at trainers that are sending horses to France for some softer ground and the races this horse is running, maybe the ground is going to be a bit too quick for King of Cities to win this race, which is why Opera Ballo is tight enough at the market now, because if the ground stays as it is or dries out, which easily could happen, Opera Ballo is probably going to end up going off shorter than the 6-4 for all that I can see that horse maybe drifting a little bit in the interim. So bit of a trappy contest. I think my opinion is quite clear in there that I think it's between the front two, but at the prices I'd side with King of Cities, but I don't know whether it's enough to actually make me want to bet in the race. So we'll leave it as that, and you can check the column to see if anything comes out at the end. The race that closes out the card, the 5:20 1 mile handicap. It's a 0-95 race. Now, Parole Doro has been very well supported since the market came open for Michael Bell and Hector Crouch. Ran, I say really well, but ran really well in the Britannia Stakes. Basically was just drawn in the wrong place. Didn't get the clearance to run and repeatedly got shut out for it. There's been horses that have happened like that at Ascot before that have come into this race and got beaten. Can't remember the name of the horse last year. Ryan Moore kept riding it, but it finally did win after a few times of asking. But it was a bit of an eye-catcher one. But I can see Parole Doro why the horse has been fancied. 9-4 at the front in this race probably does look tight enough for me. Boyfriend's a horse that ran for Richard Hannon last time. I mean, it's been trained by Richard Hannon throughout, but ran last time at Nottingham in a Class 4 handicap. Like, it was a terrible race, really. Just got the job done. Was probably disappointed on what you would expect the horse to do, but the run before at Newbury in a Class 2 behind My Cloud was a good performance. I think you can maybe just let the Nottingham run go, and they didn't have the horse fully wound up, and this might have been a bit of a target off of, well, now it's only a £2 higher mark, but then at sort of 4-1 bottom price, 5-1 top price, is that juicy enough to be thinking to myself, well, I'll have an each way play on that one. There's only 4 places up for grabs. Some firms are still 3. I don't know whether it is. Cogitate's a horse that's third in the betting here, 7-1. There's a few that are around about that sort of price, to be fair, but this is a horse that I do quite like. I think I backed him in May at the beginning of the season. When he was a big price, and I was a little bit disappointed. Then ran at Newmarket again, and again was pretty disappointing, 5th of 7 in the group. I think this horse has got ability, but I don't know why the horse isn't showing it as much as we could do. So it looks a trappy race. One I need to do a bit more work on. It probably does boil down to Parole Doro as the eye catcher at Ascot. There's only 12 runners in this field rather than the usual 20. Draw looks fine. I think it comes from the front two in the betting, but that's fairly unoriginal. But we are where we are with it. But I'll have a look. Will might be able to find us a good winner in here. So check the link in the description for that racing tips link so you can see what we fancy on each of the days. And as I say, we'll be back Thursday with a preview for Friday and Saturday's racing, where we can get stuck into 2 days action. We'll cover as many of the races as we've got an opinion in, and then we'll try and keep that as concise as we can. So as I said at the start of the show, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you can do so and you want to do so, because you will be told when we upload a video and it helps us out. Drop a like on the video if you do like the video, and please do comment with whatever you fancy for Thursday, or like I say, if you want to give us some foresight for Friday and Saturday of your best bets, we'll try and cover some of those comments in the video that we do ourselves. Once again, thank you for your support, and we'll catch you again very soon.